Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is ease. Let's take a moment and review some of the definitions or the ways that we use this verb. The first way you might encounter this verb ease means to make something unpleasant, painful, or intense less serious or severe. As I thought about this first definition, I thought of a friend of mine who recently has had some doctor's appointments and knew that there were going to be some procedures that weren't so pleasant. So the nurse tried to do certain things to make that experience less serious, less scary, right? So we could describe that as she was easing the experience for my friend. A second way you might hear ease used can mean to make something happen more easily. So, a verb that would be a bit similar would be facilitate. So, the idea here, right, you're in some ways assisting to make something happen. A third way the verb ease gets used means to have interest rates, stock prices, or other sort of financially connected things decrease in value or amount. I know this is something for people in the United States. They've been waiting for our interest rates to ease. They've been quite high, right? And now they're starting to decrease, which could make it easier or cheaper in some cases to buy things like a house or a car, especially when a loan is needed. A fourth way the verb ease gets used can mean to move carefully or slowly. You might be thinking here of someone who is a bit older, or maybe someone who's had an injury as they try and transfer or move from standing to sitting. They might have to do it in a rather careful or slow way. So you might hear someone say, kind of like, ease yourself into the chair. For now, you should know that ease is a regular verb. If you want to make the progressive form of this verb, you're going to drop the E on the end before adding ing. That forms easy. The past tense and the participle forms of our verb can be made by just adding D, since this verb already ends in an E. Now, the base verb, its ending sound, ease, z, I hope you can hear that. It's really a Z sound. It's a voiced sound. This is always confusing. You see the letter SE there, but we are making a Z sound with this word. And this means the ED ending is just going to make a D sound. And I'm not going to add an extra syllable as I say it. So the past tense or participle form of the verb should sound like this. Eased, eased. Okay. Now, this is a phrasal verb or a verb that has many phrasal verbs associated with it. So today, I'm going to focus my discussion on phrasal verbs and I'll try and review uh, verb tenses as I go along. The first phrasal verb we'll discuss is to ease along. This can mean to help someone who has trouble moving to proceed in a very slow and careful type of way. An example of this might be the first time she went ice skating, her dad eased her along the edge of the rink. Here's an example of the simple past tense. Right? And maybe you're a very good ice skater. Maybe it's something that's new for you. And it sounds like this particular person, maybe they're a little bit younger since they're going with their father, but you can kind of picture maybe him holding her hand. She's on the edge, so she's maybe able to kind of touch the wall around to help her get accustomed to gliding on the ice. Another phrasal verb you might encounter is to ease down. This can mean to physically lower someone or something, again, in a rather slow and careful way. An example of this. We'll ease the painting down from the wall with 4 people. Here's an example of the simple future. Here, somebody might be kind of discussing a plan for how something is going to happen or what's going to be done here. Um, Maybe this is a really big type of painting. It's in a very heavy frame, so it's going to take four people kind of slowly moving something off the wall. Another phrasal verb you might encounter is to ease into. This can mean to gently and or slowly introduce someone to something that is new. It's pretty common to hear this used in connection with work and school. Okay? An example of this. They eased him into his new role by always having someone close with him. So, what this might be, maybe someone's working in a retail store. Maybe there are a lot of things to remember to do at the end of a day. So, kind of gently getting this person ready to handle this on their own. But at first, they're going to have somebody with this person, right, who can help remind them, maybe demonstrate certain processes or procedures. Oh, and I should say they eased him into the new role is another simple past tense sentence. Now let's move on to the phrasal verb ease off. This can have a couple different meanings. One would be for something to become less harsh or less severe. An example of this. When will this storm ease off? That's another simple future with will, right? So you might imagine, right, something where the rain is very heavy. Maybe there's lightning, there's thunder, there's high wind, right? We want to know kind of when is this going to sort of settle down or become less severe. Another way to use ease off can mean for something to lessen very slowly over time. An example of this. The pain should ease off over the next week. Here I'm using the modal should. This might be something you hear from a nurse or from a doctor, but they're saying, right, maybe at the beginning here, yes, you're going to feel a lot of pain, but eventually it's going to decrease. Um, let's move on to another phrasal verb. The next one we'll discuss is to ease off on. Okay, so again, this can mean to reduce the pressure or the urgency that has been placed on a person, a thing, an action, or a situation. Let's look at an example. Ease off on Michael. He has a lot going on at home right now. So, this sentence is an example of the imperative. We're giving a command and we're maybe just telling someone, right? Reduce the pressure, right? Don't mandate that Michael has to do this right now, right? Maybe there are other things going on in his life that might make performing at school or at work a little more challenging. The last phrasal verb we're going to discuss is to ease up or ease up on. This can also have a number of different meanings. The first way to use it means to reduce the amount of physical pressure being placed on someone or something, right? So, like we're actually making contact, we're touching something. An example of this. You should ease up on the accelerator. Okay, here's another example with our modal should. We're giving advice here, right? And maybe we think someone just pushes that accelerator pedal in a car a little too hard, right? We want them to not have as much force or pressure. A second way to use the phrasal verb ease up on means to reduce emotional pressure or stress that has been placed on someone. An example of this. We must ease up on our players when they make a mistake. This is another modal, must. We use it oftentimes to talk about necessity, the need to do something. So maybe this is one coach talking to other coaches, right? Saying like we shouldn't yell as much. We shouldn't make our players feel bad if they make a mistake. A third way to use ease up on means to reduce the amount or the intensity of some action. An example of this. Christine has eased up on her swimming yardage due to a shoulder injury. This is an example of the present perfect. So we have has, and then we've got our participle form of the verb. And unfortunately, this is true of a very dear friend of mine, someone I love to swim with, but she just hasn't been able to do it as much. So she's had to reduce the distance that she swims, the frequency at which she swims, so that her shoulder can heal. Now, let's move on and talk about some words and a couple of phrases related to our verb ease. And the first word we're going to discuss is just the noun form of this word. The noun ease has the exact same spelling and the exact same pronunciation as our verb. The noun ease can be used in a couple different ways. We'll discuss two of them. One way to use it is to talk about the absence of difficulty or the absence of effort. An example of this: he completed the exam with ease, right? So this could be kind of both things, difficulty and or effort here, right? Didn't find this very challenging, didn't have to stop and really think, maybe work hard. Maybe this person was able to move quite quickly through it, right? That would be that kind of low effort. A second way to use the noun ease is to talk about a freedom from any types of worries or problems. An example of this: do you live a life of ease? Okay. For most people, they're going to say, no, no, I'm worried about this, and that. Another related word that probably won't shock you here is the adjective easy. This adjective has a number of different meanings. We'll talk about three of them today. One way to use this adjective is to describe something that has been achieved without great effort, or it's been achieved by very few difficulties being present. So, an example of this: were today's phrasal verbs easy to understand? Right? Maybe yes for some, maybe no for others. A second way to use that adjective easy is to talk about something that is relaxed. Maybe it's lacking anxiety or awkwardness. An example of that: our new coworker has a very easy manner, right? So this is not someone who's maybe constantly worried and panicked, right? They kind of seem relaxed. Now, a third way you might hear that adjective easy used, though, can mean to be vulnerable or lacking a defense. You might hear people described as being an easy target. That's in my example sentence here. Don't make yourself an easy target for their teasing and taunting. Right? So here the sentence is trying to maybe encourage someone, either maybe not to do or say something that's going to cause others to tease, make fun of them, etc. Now let's move on and talk about a phrase you might encounter. You might hear someone talk about easing someone else's mind. Again, this generally means to alleviate anxiety. So go back to that second definition of our adjective: relax, lacking anxiety, right? This connects really well. An example of this in a sentence might be: going for a walk outdoors always eases her mind. It's really another way of saying it helps relax her. One more phrase you might encounter is at ease. So, one way this gets used can mean to be free from pain, free from discomfort, or free from some formality. An example of this in a sentence: this news will put your mind at ease. Right? So, again, that idea, you're not going to have discomfort, maybe no worries. Now, a second way you will hear at ease used as part of a military command. And generally, it's allowing a soldier, a member of the military, to stand with less formality and maybe less rigidly. Right? So there's kind of a very set way one must stand when they're at attention. And my understanding is I have not served in the military, so not an expert here, but at ease might allow them to put an arm or both arms behind their back, and may allow them to kind of spread their feet again in more of a relaxed or less formal standing position. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.